What is going on, my good people? Y'all know what it is. Y'all know who it is. It is yours truly, Uncle Neely, coming with the Morning Wood. And this is a very special episode. What makes it special? Glad you asked. We've never had a guest on the Morning Wood before. It's always just me doing what I want to do. But today we got our man, Dr. Malcolm Jones, back with us. He was a special guest on the Morning Run. But now the book Cheated is out. Got a book tour coming out. So we got to have him back on and talk about the book, the tour, where you can find it, where you can come get a signed copy, all of that and then some. Mike, what's going on, homeboy?
Yo, what's up, Noob? How you doing?
Man, I cannot complain. Hey, you see how we worked through the little technical difficulties and found a way to make it happen? And I even used your daddy, rest in peace, as my source of information because Mr. Jones taught me a long time ago at Jim Hil High School. Boy, if you can read, you can do anything.
That's right. I can remember that phrase so much, man. And working with my dad in various areas, he really lived by that philosophy, man.
Yes, sir. Like I said, man, you've been on the morning run before talking about your book, Cheated. But the audience is growing every day. Some folks might have missed that episode. So we're going to recap some of that. Tell us about Cheated and what your inspiration was for writing this book.
Well, cheated. I started talking about writing about my life, and as I was writing it, I was like, this can't just be a recap of my life. This book has to be impactful. That's going to help somebody, to influence somebody. And I began writing. I began telling my story, a transparent story about myself and how I got into the mode of being focused totally on athletics rather than academics at the same time. And I began to write and research and just began to understand what I went through. And basically, what it was identity foreclosure. You
Hmm.
put all your focus and everything that you're doing on one particular thing, and when that one particular thing leaves you, you fall into an identity collapse because you never did explore any other parts of your identity. So that's what motivated me to write the book, and I'm really glad that I did because this is a topic that no one is talking about. We glamorize sports. Everybody wants to talk about sports, but nobody wants to talk about what athletes really go through chasing that dream. And if you chase it the wrong way, you end up being hurt in the end. You think about all the athletes that go through and they don't end up getting degrees, or they go through and they make the professional leagues, and when it's over, they're broke. They don't have any money. So I just wanted to put a framework in place to help athletes overcome those types of things, and that's basically developing yourself as you're playing the game, and really don't sell your soul into sports and not develop yourself as a person, as a holistic
Man, you,
person.
you hit a term right there, man. It resonates with me. I love it. That foreclosure, man, personal foreclosure, like that you could just put all your eggs in one basket, nothing else, and no other development. And when your ego and self esteem and self worth is attached to that thing, man, that's a hell of a cliff to fall off.
And it's happening every day. I've seen it. I coached 19 years, and as I would go into programs, you would find athletes that had identity foreclosure at an early age because their families, their communities, that's all they saw those student athletes as. But nobody ever pulled them aside and said, "Hey, you could be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be an engineer." And you need to be chasing that and developing yourself all along the way. And I think that's a problem in our communities that we have to do a better job of. And we have to start early. We have to start early saying it. We can do anything that we put our minds to. If you put the effort, the time, and the focus into it, you can become anything that you want to be. And look at the amount of time that we put into sports. We'll go pay for a personal trainer.
Hmm.
We'll lift the weights. We'll go through the agilities, do all those things to make sure that we're ready for the game. But when it comes to the academic piece of developing our minds, we kind of put that to the side. But what I'm saying with this book is we can be dual threat athletes. And a dual threat person does something at the same time with duality.
Speaking of, brother, that duality, I love it. You the monster of the double entendre like Jay-Z is because when you look at this book title, Cheated, no matter where you're coming from, it applies to you. So, like,
Yeah.
you can be an administrator, right? And you're going to see the nuances of how universities cheat athletes. If you're reading it from a coach perspective, you get information on how coaches are cheating athletes. But one of the things I truly loved about the book is when you put your personal story in there of how the athlete can cheat the athlete because you owned up to mistakes that you made that derailed your path to the NFL and set you, more than it really puts you on the path to one day write this book because you're honest about what you went through and how you own up to those things.
You definitely, if you want to be successful in life, you have to do a lot of self-reflection, and you have to be honest about your journey. I realize the mistakes that I made, but that makes me a better man at this point. Anytime I tackle any task in life, or I set any goals, I know that if I put the time, the effort, and the focus into it, I can accomplish it. You sitting here, I never intended on getting a doctorate degree, but I have one. And that was all about time, focus, and effort and perseverance. A lot of people may say, oh, you have a doctorate degree, you're smart. It's about perseverance. And a lot of that perseverance and mental toughness that I gained was through sports.
Mm,
And that's a transferable skill. And that's what I'm trying to get these athletes to understand. A lot that you get from sports help you be successful in corporate America. The leadership skills, being a team player, all these transferable skills that you can take from sports to be successful in various other arenas. I mean, there's nothing that we can't accomplish, but we have to start speaking this and preaching this to our athletes, man. And that's why I say it's a national conversation. The college sports is $1 billion business, and I think that we can do better by our athletes, and we need to start doing better by them. Because after you're done, when your playing time is over, everybody forgets about you.
mhm.
That machine just eats you up and uses you up and pushes you on and gets the next set of athletes. So it would be in your best interest to really invest in yourself and pour into your academics just as much as you do with your athletics so that you can transition into life smoothly.
Yeah. You touched on it earlier, Mike, that you've been a coach, nearly 20 years coaching, on high school level across the state, across the South, Memphis, Arkansas, Mississippi, you name it.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a tremendous weight of credibility to your book and story, but as well as what you went through as an athlete. You talked about it on the morning run, man. Take us back to that moment in the Alcorn dorm, your injury, and where you were statistically, in the as your promise to go to the league. And because again, I really think it adds value to like this guy ain't just writing this; he lived this.
Yeah. So at the time at Alcorn State, I was ranked the number 7 DB in the nation by Mel Kiper. He came out at that time, he was putting his reports on paper. Now he has them all over the internet and everything. And I had started 2 years at Alcorn as a redshirt freshman and a redshirt sophomore, had 2 great seasons. At Alcorn State University, we played man to man press coverage every down. And I was good at it. And by day I was disciplined, going to practice, go to some classes, everything that was required of me athletically, I did it. At night, that discipline went away. A lot of drinking of alcohol and just a lot of undisciplined type behavior, which ended up costing me my career. I kicked the door, one of my teammates' door in, and I flipped him out of the bed, and we got into an altercation, and he got the best of that altercation. He was a linebacker, and for whatever reason, I don't know why I wanted to go out of my weight class, but he ended up slamming me, and it ruptured the disc in my lumbar region, my lower back, L4 and L5, and that changed the trajectory of my career.
Mhm.
Before that injury, I could come up and stick you. I could run with you. And I could do pretty much what I wanted to athletically. But that all changed. After that, I was just, in my opinion, just an average DB. I could hold my own, but I wasn't as good as I was pre-surgery. And I
Yeah.
ended up starting 2 years after that, after a medical red shirt, but life was never the same.
Yeah, man, and that like I said, that story just lets people know personal accountability. I've been through this. I've seen how fans, administrators, coaches, family, friends. When the field is gone, the feelings are gone.
Man, when it disappears, and when I went through that phase twice, when I got the injury, you just get an opportunity to see people value for what you can do on that field. And once that's
Mhm.
gone, they look at you differently, they handle you differently. And if you don't have skills, credentials, and knowledge and capacity to transition into something else, man, and I've seen it whether it be my teammates or kids that I coached, um, life changes for you. So it is very important that you're developing yourself.
Yeah. And so now the book is written, man. The book is out. Let people know where they can find it, and then give us those dates that you're coming up on your book tour where they can meet you, greet you, get a signed copy, all of that.
So they can get it in several places. First, you can get it on my website, which is lifeship.one, and that's lifeship.one. And there'll be a link on there at the bottom of the page where you can pick up the book. You can also get it on Amazon. Just put my name in and the title of the book, Cheated, and they'll be able to find it that way. And this is just not a book signing, Chris. If this is the beginning of a movement. If
Mm.
they have an athlete that they care about and they want to get them to understand this message that I'm trying to get across, that you can chase this dream, but I need you to use some duality in it. I need you to be developing yourself along the way. And they need someone that has lived this story and lived this life. And like I said, I was rated very high. I was starting. I was a 4-year starter. That's just not common at Alcorn State at that position that I played.
Hmm.
You can't find many 4-year starters at the DB position the way we played man to man. But if they have somebody they care about, nieces, nephews, children's sons, daughters, and they want them to be exposed to someone that has lived this life and knows the importance of academics and really developing themselves and finding their passion in another pathway outside of sports, I'm there to have that conversation. A lot of kids need to hear from people who have done it, and that just happens to be me. So that book signing is going to be June 6th from 3 to 5 at Barnes and Nobles in Ridgeland, Mississippi. The surrounding Jackson area. Hey, come on out and engage. Whether you are a Jackson State fan, Alcorn fan, Ole Miss fan, Mississippi State fan. If you got an athlete that you care about, that you want to hear this story and try to encourage them to develop themselves, come on out from 3 to 5 at Barnes and Nobles.
Man, love that. And we got to let everybody know for the Jim Hill family, make sure y'all come out and support as well.
Now, also, we're having kind of an intimate setting at Jim Hill from 11:30 to 1:30. So all my Jim Hill Tigers, my classmates, teammates, a lot of people my dad taught, a lot of people I talk to say, man, you sound just like your dad. You look like your dad.
Look like
Hey,
him too, boy.
hey, come on out. I love to hear the stories about my dad and come out and engage early. And hey, let's have some fun, man. Let's start changing these athletes' mindsets, man. We are more than a sport. And as you can see on my gear, at the bottom, it says I'm more than a sport.
Yeah.
So we've got to start encouraging these guys because I know and I've seen it. Once they start doing things differently and putting energy into other aspects of their life, they're successful. Athletes are highly competitive, and they can be successful in anything they put their minds to. And that's the message that I want to start getting throughout our communities, throughout our athletic departments, throughout our schools, from A to Z.
And speaking of that, Mike, let's get the folks your social media handles because I'm sure that you're open to being invited to campuses or conferences to be a speaker as well. So how can folks get in touch with you if they can't make the book signings?
So they can reach me on TikTok. That's one of my biggest platforms at Dr. Malcolm J2. They can also get me on Instagram at Cheated the Book. Just reach out. I do speaking. I also have a framework that I come in and I work with athletes called the Dual Threat uh, Athlete Development Framework. So I have a lot of things coming around. You know, we're gonna have a podcast pretty soon where we bring professional athletes on, former professional athletes, college athletes. We're gonna share these stories because I'm not the only one that has experienced this.
Yeah.
And we're gonna bring these guys on and just let them share their stories so that we can change and impact some lives and influence these athletes in a positive way. You know, that's what our lives have to be about. You know, when I die, I want my legacy to be that I changed the mindset about how athletes develop themselves.
Man, I love that. No better place to put a thumbtack in it. Man, appreciate your time. Appreciate you being the first ever guest on the segment we call Morning Wood. Hey, a lot of people can be second, a lot of people are third, a lot of people go longer. Nobody
Yes,
can be
sir.
first again. No, you can't be first but one time.
Well, thank you
Hey,
for having me, brother.
yeah, sir. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all stay tuned for more. We're gonna get back at y'all.